Right, video I've promised for quite a bit, so getting on with it while I can. Voice might not be great, I'm just coming from having a cold, so do my best anyway. First off, we're going to do, this is a rough little selection of what I've got in paints. I have got hundreds of pots of paints. Crackers, I know, but it's what it is. But there's many different types of paints, and some are usable in some situations, some are usable in others. Some just won't intermix, they just don't. So you can see I've got an acrylic paints, I've got an enamel type paints, I've got all different sorts of primers. As you can see, these are enamels, two different, in a way two different types. They say acrylic on it, but they're not really acrylic tamiya, in all honesty. But you've got a lacquer tamiya, which is really virtually a full art enamel version. We've got metal paints, all sorts here. And as you can see, I've got lots of thinners, loads of different thinners, flow improvers. So I'm going to tell you what I use, when I use it, and what thinners and stuff like that I use to help me with my painting, from brush to airbrush. So first off, we'll start with primers, because primers is usually what you're painting on your kit first. Right then, primers. And I'll go through from the left to the right, as we say here, because these are my favourite primers. I've used most of them, primers that there is on market. So, Vallejo one. I will be honest with you now, this is not a great primer, but what it doesn't do is stink. So if you're spraying and you're in an area you don't want to be smelling, say you're doing it in an house and you don't want to stink half a house out, this is a better primer to use than these. But biggest problem with this, it don't spray really well. In fact, I find it brush paints better than it does spray. And then on the other side of it, I do find that if you're doing a lot of handling of your models, especially say, we'll say an aircraft like this, and you're rubbing edges, stuff like that, what you'll find is this will rub off. So in my view, a primer's meant to be on there to make sure the paint that you're putting on sticks and none of it ever comes off again. So it's not as good as what it should be in my view. So that's why very, very rare I use this. I'll use this a lot on dioramas, stuff like that, where it don't really matter. It's a cheap primer, because this is cheap and you get a lot that you can blast on and it does the job. Next is the one shots. I've got the black somewhere as well. Fantastic primer, can't knock it. It does a really great job. Does stink when you're putting it on. Dries quite fast, I find, when I'm spraying it. It is more of a like the enamel type primer rather than this, because this is a true acrylic one, to me anyway. This is, in all honesty, a good primer. I've always enjoyed using it, but I was watching a video once and somebody was using Mr. Finishing Surfacer 1500. Now, at the time I thought, oh, that don't look a bad primer, I'll try it. Tried it, never looked back from it. Mr. Finishing Surfacer is absolutely fantastic. And you do get quite a big pot for money. It isn't cheap, but you get a big pot. But what I do is I thin it with Mr. Colour Leveling Thinner 400. This to this I do about 60 to 70% paint to 40 to 30 thinner, depending on what it's like in the airbrush when I'm thinning it. Sometimes I want it a bit thinner if I want it to spread out more evenly. Other times when I'm trying to get into nooks and crannies and stuff like that, I'll have it a little bit thicker because I just want it to get a layer down and it be done. Absolutely brilliant, especially the black. Absolutely fantastic primer. Do you need a primer? No, you don't. It's nice to have a primer on because you're starting with everything the exact same colour, flat base. Where you do need a primer and you can't get after it is when you're doing photo etch parts on kits. If you've got photo etch parts, a normal acrylic paint does not like sticking to the photo etch parts. So primer on first, no matter what, and you should do fine with it. So that's primers. Let's move on to acrylic paints. Right, acrylic paints. Now, you've got they call them acrylic paints, and they're the ones, to me, true acrylics are like these, where to thin them down all you need is water. That makes these a really, really good paint in my view. For anybody who's doing their own, where you can brush paint, you can use airbrush if you want. I really do find a normal basic acrylic are a fantastic paint. But you also get the acrylics that are not really, really acrylic. I mean, you've got here a Tamiya and it says Tamiya colour acrylic paint. And in all honesty, they're not really acrylic. They're more of what you would say is an acrylic lacquer paint, where there's, or enamel as a thing. If you put water in this, it will turn to sludge. You put water in this, it'll be an absolute fine. Takes a bit longer to dry when you're painting, obviously, when you thin it down. Does not work with this. So with these, you're using your proper thinners. Your Mr. Cover leveling thinner, or the Tamiya RX20, which I've got a bottle somewhere around here. Yep, X20. Right. So you've got to with them. So I don't. These are they're like a medium stage. They're like in between acrylic or an enamel, or like we say, a paint that just does not like water. Really don't. So, to me, I've put them to one side, and the proper acrylics are here in my view, which is, they're iffy and all. Right, we're talking AKs, again, can be a little bit thing, but the main ones I find are Vallejo's, absolutely brilliant acrylic paints. You will be able to paint with these on any model and do anything you want. Yes, you might not get the greatest result. Not great for spraying, I'll be honest with you. I have tried quite a few thinners. I've got the airbrush flow improver for them. Don't help that much. I have got your proper actual thinner. There it is, airbrush thinner. Don't help that much. So I've kind of get in trying to spray these, but you can get the actual Model Air version, it's called, instead of Model Colour. And it's already thinned perfectly. Now I've used them quite a few times. I have got some somewhere, I just can't find them. They are brilliant for spraying compared to these. You've just got to get the right consistency with these, and it's hard. It really is. One thing, you've got bottle here, and you'll hear there is no ball bearing or anything in to help them mix up. Where with some, let me just see, I've got some MRP here. If you listen, there is there you go. There's a ball bearing in, that helps them mix up. What you can do with these, and I do buy them, and a lot of people say you shouldn't, but I buy bags of ball bearings. I've got them somewhere. There they are. I'm just getting them out, just a second. There they are. Get them cheap off of Amazon, bags of ball bearings. And what I'll do is, you can take the lids off, and that there, you can pull that out. Separates. Just get my knife so I can show you. And then you can put a ball bearing in them. Don't do it with them all, depends how much I'm using paint, to be honest. But they separate there. There's a little gap there, that's it. See, now that's coming off. And what you do is, you just push the ball bearing into it, and then when you check the paint, it will mix up a lot better than that. Be very, very wary if you do that with any glass jars. Chance you'll break the jar with a bearing. So, just warning you. So for paints, so we've got us these acrylics, as it says. I don't find them a true acrylic, but we've got the thinners. Always try and mix the same if you can. A lot of times doesn't work to mix, say, these two. Sometimes it does. It's a trial and error thing, but be careful. You've got some more true acrylics, as I will call them, your Humbrol. These are the little pots you get. As you can see here, you get them with Humbrol, Revel, all of that. Now, yeah, these are a true acrylic to me. What I will say is, Humbrol, I don't find a good paint. Never have done. Don't ask me why. There is one type of Humbrol paint, I'll show you in a bit, that I do like, or I have always liked since I was a kid. But these, no, I don't find them as good as what they could be. As such, and I know Humbrol are always trying to improve the paints, which is good on them. I'm a bit, nah, I don't buy them often. I really don't. So if I had choice between these, always Vallejo for me. Doesn't mean it's the same for you. Everybody has different tastes. And as for metallic type, well, metal paints, Vallejo's, metal colour, airbrush colours. I know it says airbrush. This paint with a brush, absolutely beautiful. It really does. I've gotten quite a few of these, really like them, they're my favourite silvers. So we'll go on to enamel type paints now and proper true lacquer paints. Right, lacquer or enamel type paints. I'll start with these. These two were the staple of when I was modelling, when I was younger. Revels and Umbro, mainly Umbro. I really used to buy Umbro most, it was my favourite. Brilliant paint, super cheap, fantastic way to get you into modelling. Yes, they stink when you're using them, they always have done. It's a bit like the original glows they did. But as a paint, to start you off modelling, they will do a fantastic job for you. They will brush absolutely brilliantly. I have sprayed these in the past. They do take a lot of thinning and a lot of working out exactly what you want it to be, but they do spray. But you better clean your airbrush out and all when you've done with a good lot of thinners to make sure it's nice and clean. But good paints. More for brushing, but brilliant, really are. But we've moved on a long way since these. So we'll go. First off, these are your lacquer enamel type based Tamiya paints. Not a true acrylic, even though they're calling it that. Not a true lacquer. It's like a mix between them both. Really, I just treat it as a lacquer paint. As such, I'm putting my X20 in it, or preferably my 400 thinning. Will spray absolutely brilliant. First proper true spray paint I got that I really enjoyed using, where I got fantastic results. Don't try brushing it. It does not like to be brushed. If you're going to brush, it can brush, but you really need some flow improver, or as you call it in it, because if you don't, you'll regret it. It will dry too quickly, leave streaks. Not a great brushing paint. In fact, most enamels are never a great brushing paint, to be honest, but some do well. This one certainly don't. Not in my view anyway. So, proper lacquer Tamiya. These are them. And these absolutely reek. That's why it's an LP rather than an XF. Right? These reek the house art. But as a spray paint, absolutely brilliant. You really... It's fantastic. This is on a par with my favourite, as I would say, lacquer paints, which are Mr. Robbie's, Mr. Colours here. These are, they're near enough exactly the same to me. There's not a great deal of difference. Yes, there's odd little bits, but in all honesty, all of these types, great. You can't go wrong. All need thinning. There's no doubts about that. So you've got to get the right one. And that's another thing. X20 don't work that well with these. You really need the proper Tamiya lacquer thinner. And if you're not using Tamiya's lacquer thinner, you're wanting whatever thing it is, either MIGs or whoever's it is that you're using to thin with. You need a proper thinner. Mr. Colour Leveling Thinner works. It works with everything just about that, unless it's a true acrylic, and then it just clogs up. So, we're left with, I would call these specialised brands. I've got a few other paints that are like these, knocking about, but I picked out some MRPs because they're really good paints. Already thinned to spray, get a lot in a pot, but they're a bit dear. Absolutely fantastic MRPs. But you're going to find this about a lot of paints that are enamel or lacquer, as they're called. They spray really well. Stink, but do a fantastic job. It's like a trade-off. You've got to work out which is best for you. What I will say is, if you're spraying any kind of paints, any in reality, you should be wearing some kind of a mask. More so with these. And more than anything, get that room ventilated wherever you're in. Don't be sat in a little cubby box room, no windows open, or anything like that. Sat in garage with the thing in, there's no air coming in, you'll regret it. It absolutely stinks the place down if you do that. So, there's your acrylic type paints. I'm going to go on to now oil paints, so I can tell you what type of oil paints I use and where I use them. Right, oil paints or variants of oil paints. I have quite a few that I use. So my favourites, and you'll see me use them a lot, is to make my own pin washers, stuff like that. And I use a basic oil colour. So all you need, some oil paints like these. There is a lot dearer versions on the market, but this is what they all boil down to. It's this with some of this, or my traditional terps. That's all I use, me, most of the time. Now, I am lazy, like most people. So sometimes when I can't be bothered to sit there and mix these up and dry them out, you have to put a little bit on some card to get rid of the linseed oil after them and that. Once that happens, or I believe it's linseed oil, but anyway, once that's soaked out, you can use the paints and you've got less chance of, how do you say, streaking or marking on the actual kit you're doing, the paints. So then, instead of doing that, I'll use I'll show you, these are probably my favourite for them. You use these to do matte oil painting on, and these, the good paints, no fear on it. And what you get is, it comes with, I haven't shut this up, but you can see, tiny brush on there. I said tiny, it's got a great massive head on it. Brush on there, you shake them up, use them as you need to. They're good, but at the end of the day, you're just cutting out doing this version, which is the better one in my book. This more control over it. Half the time I end up thinning these down anyway because they're a bit too thick, the actual paints in them, but they are good and I do like using them, so I'll never knock them because they are good. The only one thing I'll say is, can you see old paint all over this? Because you know what's happened to this. This has gone dip thingy, whoop, quick, get it all over, too late. Crap design for like that. They're not stable at all, but hey, it is what it is. So on these types of paints, and I've got to be a bit careful here because we've had a spillage. It's a long time ago I've used this one, but cheap like that, Crawford's oil. Make sure you get all that linseed oil out. There's a lot in these. They will still do the job. I don't think they're quite as good as, say, a decent brand name, but they will still do the job. So you can pick these up for £2 or £3 for a pack of half a dozen, or in fact more than that, from like Works and stuff like that in the UK, the Range, them kind of places. That's in the UK, by the way. So then we go to enamel washers. Now, some of my enamel washers, like these, I find fantastic. They work really well. This is great for vehicles, tanks, stuff like that. I prefer this one for aircraft, but they're good. But over time they start to get bitty inside, a bit grainy, so kind of ruins them. I mean, I've still got nearly a full pot of this one left, and this has already started going grainy, where you're starting to find little bits in the paint as it's drying up. But to show you, because I've not shook the pot, I've not done note with it, I've got here, been a bit careful, it's AK stains, fuel stains it is, just to show you how much paint is actually in one of these and how much is thinners or stuff that they use to thin them. But let me just turn it, and I'm hoping you can just see there. That's it. Look at that. All of that there is actual thinners or the actual paint colour. That tiny bit at the bottom there. That's it. So you, as you can imagine, you're gonna get absolutely, shake it up, look, and already the colour's coming into it. And you just do little tiny stains with that. It's not for out special. I don't know why I bought it. Waste of money, to be honest, for that little tiny bit there. It does have like an oily look when it's finished. But you can imagine how much you're going to get with these compared to this. It's massively different. Massive. So in oils, you've got to use the right thinners for it. Now, you can get these are low order, see, odorless completely, and it is. It's really good. It's expensive. Low order one here, not that bad. It's a little bit of odor, but not a lot. It's nothing like what the next one I'll show you is, but that's, I think it were about £5 for a bottle like that. The next one, which is is terps. You can get litres of this for literally pennies. It's not expensive. This is turpentine, or you call white spirits out like that. They will do the same job. You get a lot. It's stinks. It really does. If you've ever done any painting in your house and you've cleaned your brushes out after and you've used turps or white spirits, you know it absolutely smells. But it works. There's no doubts about it. It's doing what it needs to do, which is to be a thinner. I'm getting paint all over my hands now. So as a whole, all of these oil paints, you're not brushing these and you're not doing these for to put the main colour down. We're doing for weathering. So remember that. Don't think you... I've seen people doing videos saying, oh, airbrush, not airbrush, sorry, paint a model just with oil paints and stuff like that. I don't look at that. I don't see oil paints for that. Oil paints are a tool for me to make an aircraft look like it's weathered, or to put some colouring into it that you're not getting just from airbrushing or normal brush painting with acrylics or enamels, etc. So that's me. These paints. Well, that's about it, in all honesty, for paints wise. I mean, I'll show my gloss before I'm finished, because that is a part of painting that is quite important. And there is a few different types of gloss. So let me have a look. I've got this one. It's a gloss. Call it Shine Enhancer. Goes over paints, protects them, keeps them well looked after. I've got Tamiya's lacquered ones. I've also got Tamiya's somewhere, normal ones, tons of them, here we go, sorry about that, see, normal ones. I've got Mr. Colour versions wherever they've gone to. Like I say, I've got the lot, and I've used them all on and off. You've just got to make sure you're using them in the right situation. But I have got two, just one sec, I will be back to you in a second. Back. My two favourite varnishes. The matte varnish here from Galeria Acrylic Mediums, Winsor Newton it is. This is cheap as out, really is. A great bottle like this, I think it's about, last time I paid for it, I think it was about £7, something like that. I think it's a bit dearer now, but look at the size of the bottle to that. And this is getting watered down. This is the best gloss I've found, but it isn't the hardiest gloss. That's why I use more of these to this. This will work, but at the same time it isn't as hardy as these. So yeah, you can use it and then do weathering with these, but don't expect this gloss that goes over it all to protect it as good as you would have got if you were using a normal one. But the matte varnish, this is where I put on nearly every kit when I've finished, and it completely changes the kit in my view, and it makes it look, it takes that paint from looking like it's a bit of a toy looking paint, a bit, well not flat, a bit glossy, a bit near, and it turns it into what I would call is a more what you would naturally see of paint when it's got that nice flat look. Most of the time paint doesn't look glossy as if it's just been sprayed and come out of factory on anything. Really, unless you're doing cars, obviously you won't put that on a car, but we're talking aircraft and that, tanks and stuff like that. And there's a quick, just blow it off a bit. You can see on here, look at how that is flat, how nice that paint, and it blends it all in lovely. So all of the paints on it are nice and nice. You'll have to excuse the bit of dust that's been stood out. But on the side, it really does a cracking job of making the vehicles, or your kits, should I just say kits, making your kits look sweet at end when you've done. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope I've helped you out a bit with me paints, what I use, explaining what I use, when I use them, how I use them, how I thin them. And it's like that with thinning, in all honesty, half the time it's a case of trial and error, trying different ones. Eventually you will get what you want. But if you've enjoyed the video, and I hope you have, I hope it's helped you out a bit, I'd be grateful if you give us a thumbs up, a like, and even better, and it really help the channel out a lot, is to subscribe to the channel. We've brought the 5,000 bracket. I can't believe it, we've done it so close before next year. I didn't think we were going to do it for then, so brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Channel's coming along fantastic. Kit coming up soon, you've actually seen it. Here she is. Edward, BF109. Just getting ready for more paints. And I'll catch you all later, and I hope you all have a good one.